etc. I'm going to put this down now. Okay, there's also something I'm going to do because I'm a nerd. Although I'm recording the audio through this, so it really shouldn't matter, but there's a trick you can do if you're going to record audio separate to something you have as a screen. You can create kind of a cue here to do something called, what I do, like, it's like a snap clapper board almost. So like if I was recording the audio separately, I would snap near my microphone at the same time as opening that file, so that when I go through and I look at the separate soundtrack and I want to sync it to whatever I'm doing here, so that it's, because it'd be really difficult to tell because you're not lining it up with mouth, you know, a lip reading, you wouldn't be able to tell. A lip reading, liberating. Sorry. I will try to enunciate more, so I'm going to delete this because now you know this trick. Okay, so what I was talking about, I'm constantly experimenting. Yeah, that was supposed to be lip reading, and lip reading and liberating is close together in, yeah. Anyway, so where I'm at right now, I was talking to one of the other users, Charming Liar, I think is the moniker in the other server. So, and they were having some trouble trying to kind of connect to this program, which is something I understand because it is Scrivener is really, it's like Photoshop in the sense that it has that unlimited layer of stuff, right? Like it has that, like you fall down a well which goes into another well which goes, it goes in every direction. I do not use it for screenwriting because I have very good screenwriting programs already that do what they're supposed to do, and there's not that same level of like, you know, because this, it can be, I wish that it had more limitations when it comes to things like formatting, because it's really strange when you cut and paste something from like Google Docs and you have different font sizes on different lines, even though you don't have different font sizes in the original document. So that sort of thing can be frustrating, but I don't really worry about that. So, and I was talking about outlining. So this is already pretty divided up. This is a third installment of a trilogy that I'm writing for, like, basically the sheer fuck of it, because I don't have much in the way of prospects for it, which is why I don't have a problem really using it for this demonstration of whatever it is I'm demonstrating here. So, because it is adapted from a very ensemble miniseries that I wrote like way back as like I refer to this whole thing as a sandbox project, meaning I can kind of play with it as much as I want, but the consequences are basically not very much because there's not an expectation there. So I have these, and there's a lot of different character perspectives. It's not a first person, it's a second person, but I will shift character perspectives like 3 times within a single chapter, and it can be disconcerting when writing it. It more or less works when reading it, from what I can tell. So what I've got going on here is stuff that really demands outlining. It absolutely does. One of the things that I do to manage this is I sort of do like a dual outline. I've got this structure, which is the structure literally of the book. Like if I click manuscript and I go through, or I click prologue and go through, I'm going to get all the text, I'm going to get all that. These are called, you view these under scrivenings. So there's that option. And it will give you all the headers, and the headers will be governed. You know, I don't show the headers of the text, but I do show the headers of the chapter. It will be governed by that structure. So that's like the full text. That's my composition, what I use for that. Let me do a quick check on, make sure we're all working on the same page there. Okay, cool. So we've got that, and you'll notice I have this little link right here, because while I like having this structure for this particular type of novel, this is probably a bit elaborate for what most people are going to do. Most people are not going to have like 10-ish characters that they're working between. I probably will also, I think, maybe remove the number designation. I think I will use some other kind of designation. It could even just be an alternating one to distinguish one from the other whenever they're, I try not to go back to the same characters too close to each other. So, like, if I have Lucretia, okay, the reason that there's a prologue that's Lucretia, and then I have the present day Lucretia, so there's a reason there's that jump, but I almost will never make that chapter same character, because it defeats the purpose of being able to move among those characters. So, I'll tell you a little bit about my icons here. This is one thing where it's like, I find that the developing using this program means that I do a lot of overcomplication that becomes oversimplification or becomes simplified over time. So my experiments tend to be big and broad, and I almost always find that the thing that is most clearly communicating what I'm doing at the simplest level is the thing that's going to keep me from getting too distracted by all of this stuff. So the reason that I decided I was just going to do something really simple here and go with kind of a stoplight thing. And basically what that is that gives me 3 drafts. That's green, basically nothing in it. Maybe a little bit of, sometimes I get, these are notes for me. Then I have these, the yellow drafts, which are basically like a fairly well developed draft. Then I have an indicator of which stuff I am in the middle of working on, need to be working on. So Nazarene is got the little pencil right there, which means that this is a thing that is not yet achieved. It's basically the rough draft that is unfinished, and there's parts missing. But yeah, in other words, so if it's a green draft, which helps, right? Green is a good, color to have as your initial draft. In screenwriting, there's revision pages colors. It's a whole set thing. So yellow is, again, my middle. When I get somewhere where I could actually probably call it fairly done. So let's look at you do a right click, you look at the icons. These are great. The notes have an option over here, and that's why I like them, because there's a lot of options. So I can call that a red one. I can say that's pretty much locked, which is good, because then I know what I need to work on. And because I write out of order quite a lot, it helps to work this way. Okay, I'm gonna do the water thing. Okay, so moving on to outlining. So this is an outline of a kind, but it's really about content more than it is about being a direction of things. It's more about, it's one of those things where if you revise this stuff, you're doing pretty big revisions. You're not doing, sometimes I'll drag them out of order because it turns out the perspective leads better into the action or something like that, but it's not really intended to make big changes to it. So if I sort of pop that out, and now I pop out the outline. So the outline is different. I found, and I like the little sync file icon. So again, I went and I found that down here. So as you can see, there's a lot of options. There are ways to import your own icons. I don't have time to figure that out, so I haven't tried. So, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of options here, and as long as, for me, again, it was one of those things where, like, sometimes I'd put an I, and sometimes I'd put and I'd just be like, then I'd be like, what did I mean by that? And I don't know. So I don't like to complicate it too much. That's why we've got green, yellow, red, stoplight. Now what makes this different, and the reason that I have 2 sort of sets when it seems a little redundant, is because Scrivener has this thing that I really like, and that is, it has the ability to open dual windows. So if you look here, little thing that's going to be dual, and one of the other things that I love about it is it's just so intuitive. It really is. It's intuitive in a way that the intuitive stuff is hidden. I know that sounds like a contradiction, But once you know how it works, it can really help. So I'm going to go and find something that's got some unfinished stuff in here. So chapter A. So this is the chapter A. Here we go. I did not do a link with this one, apparently, so I'm going to find one I did do a link with. Okay, I got Edward 3. So now what this is this is actually the entry under, if I go chapter A, under Edward 3. So it doesn't have anything written in it. Let's say French. We'll go to French. We haven't done much with French. So one thing I've done here, now you've got these navigation things, which is great. So you want to make sure that you've got your highlight on a thing in order to see the difference. So these are, this is the composition. This is where I write stuff. And this is where I have like either outline notes. Usually they'll be a little bit more broad than this. I know what's going to happen approximately, and I know that writing it down right now is going to be obnoxious because it's an air fight and it's tough to beat that for a novel. It was a lot easier for a script, and it wasn't easy for a script. So one thing I made a decision to do here, and the options you've got here, is that this link is actually this file, and this link is actually this file. So I've sort of tied an X across these two. The way that you do that is actually really easy. So the easiest way I found is to select. So let's go here. Make sure this isn't selected so it remains on this file down here. And I can go to this file, French 1, and I click it, and I hold it, and I drag it, and it's going to pop a link right in there of that file. So if I click this, it will pop this window open, and it will be that file. So what I'm doing, the purpose of that is essentially to sync these things together, to link them so that I don't get lost, so that I know if I open Lucretia 2, I can open that and look, there is Lucretia 2 right there. Yeah, so it's a redundancy that can be really helpful. Another thing that I've been able to do is by linking it. Hope you guys are following this. Let me know if you want me to explain or slow down. Linking this to the entire file, because again, when you set scrivenings, it means you can view everything in here. You can really view the whole document with these are the chapter names, and they serve as headers. And anytime you click in here somewhere, it will highlight the appropriate location in here. So if I open just outline, that's another thing. This is the intuitive thing I was talking about. If you drag this, it's going to open it, and it gives me the entire thing. It gives me the whole thing. So now what I have, some of these are not correct, so I don't want to get confused, but I'm going to come down and find one that is. Let's see, because I want to go and look through the entire file. So I want to look with one. So let's find Rachel 1. Rachel 1's going to be the first one. Okay. So one thing I like to do when I need to see them both next to each other is just straight up line them up. Line up the two links. This is why I need to make the links a little bit more clear. But if I line up these two links, then I know that what I'm doing here is I've got this information. Usually it's the information that I think I'm going to forget, or that is vital, has to happen at a certain point. In this case, there are tanks, because there should just be tanks. I'm going to jump to Nazarene. So again, this link here, it goes, just naming is important. Your naming conventions are important. This link will go here. And when I click it, it's going to open it right there. And when I click into this window, it's going to highlight the file over here. It can be confusing. I hope you guys are using the Voice LS chat window to talk and not one of the other ones. And I check. Okay, cool. Looks like you guys are on board. So yeah, and again, I have that thing I can just do here. So there, and I line up these two. I know that I'm looking at the entire. Another thing too is that because I've dragged the outline in here. Yeah, I get it. Also back buttons. Love the back buttons. I whispered that. I should have said I love these navigation buttons. But because it is Now here in the whole outline, again, works the same way as Scrivening's. Well, it's a top file. It means that I have the entire outline in its little chunks. It basically creates beats. Yeah, Brian, like, I didn't think about doing it either. Like, I just sort of fell into this and just started messing with it and was like, okay, well, how can I... Because my problem is when I outline, the outline and the text start to migrate away from each other, and they cease to be very helpful because they are no longer synced up. They're no longer... their location of the events is no longer relative. And I think this is also one of those approaches that it's really important if you are writing out of order, and I definitely get my motivation from writing the scenes I want to write by making sure that the information is consistent. And this is like kind of the best way, because even if it's not, even if I lose track or something happens here and something happens here, as long as I've got the link to the actual file, I can make sure that I know what goes with what. I do like the ability to like just line them up like that, because then I know what I'm working from. I know that I'm working from this particular scene, and I know that I'm working from the main things that happen in this scene that I need to address in the chapter. So it's a way of tracking story, and it's a little different. It's a little different for me in the sense that I don't... Well, I mean, it is kind of similar, because what I do is I do a lot of outlining on paper. When I'm doing what I call compositional outlining, where I'm changing things around, or I'm asking questions, or I'm really going very broad and brainstorming and refining until I get those beats down, and then I enter them into this outline so that I know it's more of a guide for writing than stuff when I... Yeah, no problem, Dale. Thanks for coming in. I will post the video when I have it up on YouTube, so hopefully you'll be able to get a chance to look at it. None of y'all's are talking, so it should actually be coherent without missing audio gaps. So, okay. Anyway, that's basically the main thing, I think. It gives me just these little things where I can make the decisions, I can change things, but I can track those changes in a way that makes sense to me, because there are so many functions on different apps and different screenwriting apps and different, and Google and everything, of track changes, and I have a fuck of a time with those. For some reason, my learning style, my interacting style does not work very well with those types of aggregate information or sequential information, because I just have a hard time parsing the order of things. And so in this situation, I also have kind of a bin of a needs to happen bin, like here, and I would probably make this a little bit more distinct, because these are things that are unsorted. These are things that have to happen without me actually knowing specifically where they fit in, because they're either too far down the line, or I just haven't had time to incorporate them yet. So it also kind of leaves me a chance to be a little bit more experimental in my text, because if something comes up that's new and I can, relate it to what I thought was going to happen or what still needs to happen, and I can kind of go on tangents. Another thing that I will do a lot is I will create scratch within the chapters. So if I'm going to do more than one version, and there's a scene where I've done more than one version for sure of it, this I rewrote a bunch of times. So what I did is I just straight up go add new text, and then I might say, this is not necessarily going to go into the outline, but as long as I keep it naming consistent, scratch or version or draft or whatever, as long as I keep it consistent and I know that these are both part of, this, whatever this is, then I can go ahead and I can kind of go on a tangent and I can write through whatever I need to write through that is frustrating me at that time. So it's, yeah, it's, this program is, like I said, it's got a ton of application to it, but it can be a little bit intimidating because there are a lot of different settings. Like there's so much crap in here I'm never going to use because it's just confusing. The compiling feature is also very, very difficult to manage because it doesn't really give you a clear enough preview of what it is you're making. So, yeah, that's basically it for now. I'm gonna move that to trash. If you have, basically everything else that's down here is just really a matter of choosing an icon to stand as development. Haven't been using that stuff. I know a lot of this stuff basically. I'll go in and one thing I always like to have are style guides in meta. So again, issue a Scrivenings and viewing it should be able to. Okay, there we go. It's my little list of things that, and you can actually make that part of a template. So it will always have your inventory of descriptive language in case you forget how to do words, which happens to me a lot. How do I create the outline? I literally this is just a file. This is exactly the same as all these other files. They're all files. It's a file with an outline icon. If I wanted to, I could change it back to just a regular file. So if you go new folder, sorry, not file, folder, new folder, and then right click the folder, add new text, that is the structure. The only thing that's different is, that's outline scratch, so that's just literally screwing around. This is the outline up here. The only thing that's different, you can also add obviously folders within folders. The only thing that's different is that I changed the icon. It's really the same kind of structure. The only major thing is that you're giving yourself a visual cue. So look and see, it looks like you guys have more questions. So yeah, the way that I make it is, that is how I've been doing it. Okay, I should open one of these. So notice I'm actually using a checkbox here. I actually don't know if I haven't checked anything off. I can certainly check off this. So go change icon. It's right up here, tick. I know that it's done. So, however that works, I could archive this in some way if I needed to. But I know that particular draft. So do I make it? Yeah, I mean I do make one file at a time. I could, if I wanted to, select files and copy them. So if I wanted to, it's a similar thing to where when you select multiple stuff, you hold down whatever Control or Command or whatever it is on Mac. I can cut and paste that. I can Control C, Control V, and I think I have to make another folder to do that in. But if I wanted to, I don't know. I might have to actually manually copy that stuff. But you can copy it. So if you have a naming convention that you've already established up here, okay. You can okay, it's a duplicate feature. So, no, what did I do? Oh no. Chapter B, I put everything into thing. Okay, so let's not do this thing here. Because I can remember what they were in. Anyway, you get the idea. You can right-click, you can duplicate as many of them as you want, and then you can just take the text out if you wanted to take the text out. So, it can be a little bit of a pain to drag stuff. And you type in the right side. You can, okay, I'm gonna fix this real fast, and I'll give you a quick demo of how you can segment stuff after the fact, after you've written a bunch of text. So first off, it's just these, I guess. Go here. I can always go back and check these, thankfully. Can I Control Z? No. So this for some reason became a... So I'm just trying to figure out how to, okay, I'm going to drag these up. Yeah, you liked that, didn't you? Alright. So, I'm gonna, for this, I'm going to copy the prologue. It's a single thing. So one thing I can do, I'm gonna cut and paste all this. I'm gonna close this for now. Or I guess I'm gonna, whatever. So notice I've got the file, prologue, right? So first off, I'm gonna do all of this, and I'm gonna delete it out of here. Okay, actually, I'm selected both, so I have to do this. Okay, I'm gonna delete that out of there. Then I'm gonna delete that file. And what I can do is I can actually do text right directly under the prologue, and it will change the icon here so that you can see that it is now a text file as well. What I can do then is some cool stuff. So I like this. This is cool. So what I can do is I can go ahead and highlight this, and I can right click, and there's these options here: split it selection or split with selection as title. So sometimes what I'll do if I'm writing just a run of stuff, and then I'll put a name there, for example, so that it fits into my naming convention, I will select the name and split it there. In this case, I'm not going to do that, but I will split selection a title. Now, this split it as a selection, it made it another file, or folder with file kind of thing. So what that means is it's sort of above the hierarchy of what's going to show up under a header. What I can do also, right-click, and I can, let's see where it is. I think I can, there's a way to convert it. Okay, so there are ways to convert these into files, the non thing. So what I would do here is I would just add a new text file. I would cut and paste this. Yeah, see, that's shouldn't be a title. Well, it does put a header in there. Again, you can do what you want there. Title it, and then if I wanted to put it in there, the point is you can split it up where you want to. It's really, honestly, it's better to write, I think, in a raw text file and split it up so that you don't get kind of this confusion of stuff you don't really use. So what I would do here is I would just add some sexy time. Definitely some sexy time, so you guys get to enjoy that. Go back to Rachel. So if I wanted to split up a text file, and that is still a text file, it's just a yellow text file. You can put that in there. You know, so if I'm writing these characters on a run and I don't want to have little sections, because sometimes that can be inhibiting. Sometimes I want to write that transition where I can see it within the context that I'm working. So I can just come here and be like, split it selection with title. And there's the file. There it is, right there. Love that thing. So it does mean that you do have then this file that is, you know, kind of broken for the moment. I think you can probably just undo it. I'm just going to add that and drag that to trash. There's a lot of stuff in it. And then delete these. This program works exceptionally well through redundancy. It works because there's an understanding and an accommodation for the kind of learning style that requires a lot of like we as humans, the way our brains work, we remind ourselves about stuff constantly. We're obsessed with productivity apps, with all this stuff to try and keep from getting distracted, confused, unfocused, whatever. And sometimes having all these tools can be really intimidating, but it can also help us sort of lay a really distinctive breadcrumb trail in order to keep ourselves from getting too distracted. it is making, yeah, Brian, it is definitely making things up as you go along, but at the same time, you're using some very specific tools to do that. And the tools have, every tool in here has a bunch of different ways to apply it. So there's, yeah, it's mostly about kind of the power of fragmentation and the power of unification and the way that you can take things and break them down and then put them back together again, because I think the way that we perceive information and especially narrative is along a spectrum of these kind of perspectives. So you do end up looking at stuff really, really close or very, far out. There's a scope change, and everyone can kind of adjust themselves to where they fit best in that scope change, but it definitely helps if you have some insight into how the actual mechanism works, because otherwise it's just going to confuse you. So if anyone else has questions, I'm going to wind this down in a bit, but go ahead and ask me questions now, and I'll do my best to answer them, not being an expert. So Ranger's typing, and then I'll let her do that. I'm going to choke on water like I do. Yeah. Definitely going to cut that out. I mean, I hope that helped. Because I, like I said, I understand why, if you were just looking at it and sitting down it for the first time without somebody kind of pointing out, it's one of those things where you could teach an entire class on it. Yeah, and I mean, and you can use images too. You can drag images in there. Because I'm working on a, so let's see, episodes. These are literally the screenplays. And I can double window those too, which is super cool. Because I can do that. I love it. There you go. Hey! Love this stuff. Because again, it's one of those things, you put PDFs in, this is a PDF, you can put PDFs, you can put web pages, you can put images in there. Yeah, there's a lot of options. I think did I remove that? Okay, world. Okay, so yeah, so here's another thing too. This is meta stuff. These are things where, like, secondary characters where I'm probably gonna kill them, but I need names or something, and I'll just throw names in here and sort of go through and all the the information that I will not keep in my brain all the time, but I need to refer to at some point. These are just invented people. This takes place in like 2043, so there's a lot of new stuff happening here. But then just like here's literally the name of the vehicles that they use. I like snakes, so that's cool. But yeah, these are, I got my inspiration. I've got just what the hell is this? I don't even know. Just writing on characters. But the point is, as long as I can come find it again, I might never refer to it again, but being able to write it out and work through it and not have that sort of paranoia of like people who pants are either amazing or not very good. They're either able to do all this in their head, or they're just not very good. Like, when you can tell that somebody didn't do the planning that they should have planned, you can really tell. And when somebody can do it without having to outline without having to do all that stuff, it's because they just have that capacity. Which impresses and terrifies me. So, yeah, the double windows are great. You can also set them to stack one on top of the other. Yeah, the thing about story planning, I think that is most neglected is the benefit of knowing your ending. Because if you know how it's going to end, you can make a lot of decisions. You get to start making, I mean, sometimes the foreshadowing just happens. I don't even plan for something to foreshadow, thematically or otherwise. But it happens because I have a good sense. If you know your ending, you kind of have to know your theme by default. And this can really help you plan and do little like backwards planning. So that's, yeah, anyway. I feel like a lot of some of these elements would be really cool if you incorporated them into screenwriting, and to a simplistic degree, they are, and they don't really need to be more complex than they are for the most part. Um, not to overly plug Arc Studio here, but one of the updates we made recently, and I've been sort of on a hiatus from them, and now I'm back. But one of the updates we made recently was taking the outlines and making sure that it syncs with the script. So, and not only does it sync with the script, it syncs in a custom way, so you can actually like tag where the beat is going to be in the script, even if it's not with a scene or something. So seeing that's been really cool, because that's always what I thought was kind of the next level thing. So this is my way of doing this without actually having the linking that I'm doing is manually, and finding it's not, instead of like sliding up the super nice let's see if I can see what it even looks like to jump around, instead of giving it that like really polished look of how it gets there. If I go so down here, it jumps at least to where I need to be in the manuscript when I have the full manuscript up there and the full outline up there. So it does fundamentally do the same thing. By having these little, internal links, I can get where I need to be navigationally the same way that I would be in, a slightly more polished, more purpose-made outlining structure. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hopefully this is helpful. Thank you to Ray for RH for Ray, R-E-I. Come on. R-E-I. There you go. Thank you to Ray for, providing a link to this interestingly but reasonably accurate closed captions for anyone who is deaf and needs that assistance. So I'm glad that she found that for me, because that was a struggle we were having with trying to use more different technologies besides the Google chats or groups or whatever they're calling them now. Yeah, I hope that was really helpful. Thank you guys so much for being here for that.